Hi, Ron Fairfield, 58 years behind the chair. Welcome to my vlog, all about my 58-year career in hairdressing. The previous two videos talked about my career starting in 1968, where I did a traditional 5-year apprenticeship, and I talked about that in those previous two videos. So if you want to click on those and have a listen to those to get a bit of a background, that would be really good. So who is this video for, or who is this series of videos for? Well, I think it's for maybe salon owners who are, new salon owners, or young stylists who started in the last 5 to 10 years, who perhaps don't understand or don't know about how we got to where we've got to in the hairdressing industry. And there's many things I think that are happening right now that really concern me, and I'm going to talk about that in later videos. But for the now, I just wanted to sort of catch up with what it is being a hairdresser back in the 70s was like. Now, I talked about the fact that I did my apprenticeship with Charles Roberts. I then went to work for Geoffrey Flanders, and Jeff still has a salon in London called Equus. And it was very much a kind of party atmosphere in those days. It was the 70s. It was really happening. London was a place I used to go down to London regularly. Fashion and music was really exciting. And the same was true in hairdressing. Things were really changing fast. People were suddenly viewing hair in a very different way to the way it had previously been done, and how we view style. And there were the geometric cuts, and then we started to experiment with different effects of cutting, and things were moving at a pace. So what was I doing then? Well, during the 70s, I was working as a stylist, and I also went to Peterborough College, where I became one of their lecturers, and I taught the basic hairdressing course. Later on, I also took on the stewardship of the advanced course. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the advanced hairdressing course. What happens nowadays is that you do level 2 NVQ at college, or day release, or full-time college. And then when you finish your level 2, there is an implicit sort of idea that you would then go on and do NVQ level 3, which theoretically is really what the advanced hairdressing course was. But I have a few issues with that, because with level 2, the basic course, I think it's imperative that you use those skills and you hone them and you work on them and you get some experience, because to then go straight into level 3, into NVQ level 3, which is theoretically the advanced course, I don't think you can add advanced skills until you've really worked with clients with the skills that you already have. Now, when it came to the City and Guilds advanced course that I did, there was a gap between when I'd finished my training, when I'd done my level 2, and going back and doing level 3. And all of the students in the level 3 course were experienced hairdressers. There was nobody who'd just finished level 2 or finished the basic course. That wouldn't have happened, because they were busy honing those skills. So these were people who'd been working in the hairdressing industry and wanted to come back in and see what new things they could learn. So what was in the advanced course back then? Well, you might be surprised to find we did applied law. Really? Yeah, we did applied law, and what law was all about. We did applied business studies and how, running businesses, what that was all about. We did advanced science, and it was advanced. And again, that was done in the science department of the college. And we also did advanced art and design, which is brilliant. We did theatre set design. It was great. It was exciting. And also we did a series of lectures with one of the liberal studies lecturers, David Bond, actually, his name was. And he delivered a series of lectures about fashion and art and the influences of society at that time. And it was fascinating to discover how art was a reflection of what was happening in society. And that's true also of hair. Hair fashions were a reflection of what was going on in society at that time. So this is all really, really good stuff. And so when you did your advanced course, you came out feeling that you'd really you'd really lifted your skills and your knowledge. Knowledge was really important, not just a skill set. And often students have said to me in the past, yeah, but why do I need to know any of this stuff? I just want to cut hair. And I get that. I do get that. But it's like music. If you don't know anything about music and you listen to it, you go, well, I like that, but I don't understand it, but I like it. If you get some understanding of how music is created and put together, suddenly it increases your pleasure in it, because you're hearing things you didn't hear. And it's the same with hair. You suddenly understand things that you didn't understand, and it really broadens your skill set when it comes to hairdressing. So understanding the history of hairdressing, how we got to where we got to, is really, really important, I think. And to not be stuck in the style that is now, in the now, and understand how we got to that style in the now. That's really, really important. I'll give you a very simple explanation of that. When Sassoon started designing these new hairstyles, the styles were largely longer on top and shorter underneath. So they were inverted shapes. I use my hands to explain that. Now, when we'd experimented with all of those things, a 5-point cut, very long bobs with their long extensions, things that are being done now that a lot of you young stylists out there will really enjoy doing, because they look tailored, they look interesting. So what was the next step? Well, the next step from that, of course, was how do we change from that to something new? Well, of course, what we did was had a look and say, okay, if we're doing longer layers through the top and inverted the cut underneath, how about if we switch it on its head? And all of a sudden we were cutting the top layers shorter and leaving length in the perimeter line of the haircut. And that gave us what was called the midi cut. Now people go on about mullet. There was no such haircut as a mullet back then. And in fact, the expression, the mullet haircut, came up with by the Beastie Boys in the 80s. So actually, it wasn't about then. Back then, it was called the midi haircut, and it was tied in with the fashion for midi-length coats, midi-length dresses, midi as in mid-length. So the whole fashion industry turned its ideas around and started to do a different look. And some of them were successful. Some of them we look back and we think, God, that's pretty bad. But this was how fashion changes. If long fringes are in, someone will come along and go, let's try short fringes. Or if it's long at the back, someone will say, let's go back to cutting it really short at the back. So fashion is a way of changing the looks of things, and the influences of art and design. A lot of hairdressers go to art galleries and have a look at the fashions then. And we look back in history. A lot of new looks are actually reflections of old looks back in history. And that's how things develop in the fashion world, in fashion, in hair, and in clothes. So that was a pretty quick look at how things were going on back then when I did my advanced course. And it was very much rounder as a course. And I think level 3 doesn't provide that. NVQ level 3 doesn't provide that. NVQ level 4 is supposed to provide that, but I don't know of many places where you can do the level 4. If you know better than that, please comment underneath. That would be great to hear from you. So that was me doing my advanced course and teaching the advanced course at college. What else did I do? What other things were happening then? Well, I started to do education for manufacturers. At that time I did some work for a company called Lamar, and I worked with them, and I did education with a number of really amazing people in salons around the country who were using Lamar products. I also went on to work a little bit with L'Oreal, a little bit with Goldwell. Weller, did some work with Weller. And so a lot of these major manufacturers would use working hairdressers like myself and some of you out there to work with them and endorse their products, obviously, but to provide education in salons for other stylists. So I was doing a lot of that work as well in the 80s. And then a big development happened, which I'm going to talk about in the next video, which had huge implications and dramatically changed the way that we looked at hairdressing. So thanks again for listening to this. I'm going to go away and edit it now. There'll be a few things in there I need to sort out. But if you've liked this and you've enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button so you get to hear my other videos and know when they're out. And like below. Any comments would be welcome. And thanks again for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.